Let me think I'm gonna pull my hair long.
Hold on, it's making me sign in again. What the title you want it to be, Auntie? Nzinga Alston tells her story, or you have another title?
It's good. That's good.
Okay.
Um, that's good.
I can
Cause
always
we got
change it
time.
later. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, let's go.
Okay. I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready. Ready.
It's going now. Hold on.
Okay. Wait, I gotta got it again. I have to put it in again. I had to sign in again.
Oh, to YouTube?
Yes, and those are my two Akan sisters. We're all Akans, and two of them are tuned in, Abimbola and Mama Abimbola and Mama Queen Kabibi.
Okay, what I'm going to do is we are live now on YouTube and we are recording. So
Okay.
peace from the House of Tonya 23 and the Holistic Wellness Haven. Tonight, your host, Osset Amin Ra, has a very special guest, and her name is Nzinga Alston. And she is going to tell her story and give us the information on her community work that she has done in the city of New York. And as a little girl, I often tell the story about when I used to be at my aunt's house and she would have these meetings and I would be sitting there and the information that they were talking about was so uplifting to a black little girl that I asked if I could join the circle and discuss our situation
Let me just
with
turn
us.
it down.
And they let me. So
Yeah, go
um,
ahead. I want to
we
zoom.
have also have
Mute everyone.
Nzinga
Mute everyone.
supporters. We have Aminbola Wali,
Bridge, learn to play bridge.
and we
Oh,
yeah. Someone has to turn the volume down or mute her.
mute. Just mute everyone. Mute
Okay.
everyone.
All right. It says ask to mute, but I guess they're on mute.
Okay.
Okay.
Ask everyone to mute. Yes,
And
thank you. Or
so
just
we
mute.
have again Aminbola Wali is joining us tonight. And we will also give you a chance to, introduce yourself. After Nzinga, everybody can go and then she can continue to tell her
And,
story.
and
And I'll
Queen
start with the
Kabibi.
question. Yes. And we also have Queen Kabibi Haynes. Okay. So Nzinga, I'm going to give you the floor. Go ahead and do your thing.
Well, first, my niece, I would like to say Hepte Pu.
Hip hip.
What's happening? Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum
Wahum.
assalam.
I would like to thank you for inviting me this evening to your podcast. And I'm so proud of you because I remember when you were so small, but you was always talkative. And I said, you know what? One day this girl's going to be on TV or something. So now here you are on YouTube. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Um, thank you. So what I want to start with how I got involved. First of all, I got involved because my sisters and brothers were involved when Angela Davis was captured and their high school started walking out to free Angela Davis. And we wrote a poem. My sister and I, her name is Annie Alston. That's what her maiden name, and now she's Annie Walden, her married name. Um, Her friend, Perry, myself, and my sister Annie, we wrote a poem, and it was called Related to What? We remember after we really admired the last poets. So we wrote that poem. I remember my older brothers and sisters walking out of their high schools around the struggle of Angela Davis and other things as well. My older brother, your father, Melvin Alston, was deeply involved in the struggle and in the riots up in Harlem. Our aunt Blanche, God bless the dead, she was there the night that the afternoon rather that Malcolm X was killed at Audubon Ballroom. And as a result, we was all living in Harlem, and the police was going around raiding people's apartment. My aunt was very scared. She and my mother, they then all moved to the Bronx. The South Bronx, we moved, and Aunt Blanche moved to Soundview area of the Bronx. So it was a family that was active already in the struggle, and I became involved from seeing my sisters and brothers being involved in riots and everything up in Harlem and protesting. There was a lot to do in Harlem at the time. We all used to go to the Apollo Theater to see James Brown, Aretha Franklin. The afternoon that Malcolm X was assassinated, my aunt asked my mother, can she take me previously to going? And my mother said no, because she felt that something may happen. No one knew that Malcolm X would get assassinated. That was the date of February. It was on a Sunday. It was February 21st, 1965. And I remember that date because it was all over the news, all over the radio. We really listened more to the radio. And we had black and white TV then. We didn't really have colored TV. I remember when we got our first colored TV. So going back to the story, everybody in Harlem was very much afraid. And as a result, we wound up moving because Aunt Blanche was afraid that the police was going to continue to question her and everything. She was a Christian, debating whether she was going to become a Muslim. So after church, she would always go to the temple to listen to Malcolm X on Sundays. And then my brother, Calvin, he became a member of the Nation of Islam. So it was a new awakening for all of us. I, as a result, stopped eating pork when I was a teenager. And I started reading the books that Elijah Muhammad wrote at the time. One was called How to Eat to Live. And then in later years, I read many of his books. And it enlightened me. At the time, the newspaper, The Final Call, was called Muhammad Speaks. So they talked about all types of issues in that newspaper. And I read all of the newspapers because my brother was selling it. He was also selling the fish, the bean pies. And at that time in Harlem, the Muslims had steak and takes. They had the Shabazz restaurants. And we would live in the Bronx, but we would go down to 116th and 125th Street to buy bean pies and the fish and everything. So now that brings us back to when I was 13 years old. I joined a group called the United African Youth Movement, what we call UWANE. And I met a young brother. He recruited me. In fact, his name was Daryl Davis. A lot of people know him as Brother D, the rapper, and as Armand Nubian. And we all lived in the Bronx. So we had study groups in Harlem. And I was 13, and I believe that he was 15 or 16. And we were studying books. I remember studying the book They Came Before Columbus by Jerome Bennett. That was one of the books that we studied. We studied the book by Ivan Van Sertima. Later we studied, I believe, Malcolm X. And as a result, we became good friends. So then we started going around this organization when I got to be in college. I graduated from Walton High School. First, I went to Central Commercial, transferred to Walton High School because a lot of my friends started having babies. And my mother, when we were at Central Commercial, my mother said, oh no, I'm gonna get my daughter to another school where she could watch me. I was not even having sex. I was a virgin still. And my mother was afraid that I would be influenced by some of my friends who were having babies. And it was all good. I mean, I have nothing against anyone who's a teenage parent. In fact, they were very good teenage parents. So my mother, anyway, transferred me in the 10th grade to Walton High School in the Bronx. And it was an all-girl high school at the time. And Brother D, we call him Baba D now, or Brother Amar Nubian, he went to Clinton High School. So we would get together. We had clothes drives. We gave away food. Some of our friends was from the original Panther Party. And we had study groups. We used to study books and read and discuss them. And we used to do community events. Then I went to college and we remained friends in college. And I became a member I went to New York University, a predominantly white college. I had a full scholarship, the Martin Luther King Jr. scholarship, and I lived on the dormitory there. It was very exciting, of course. One day, a white person wrote, "Nigga, go home," on my dormitory room door. And I was very angry. As we say, we get tight. So I went to the resident fellow he was white. And I said, "Look, we have to have a meeting today. Look what they wrote on my door. Nigga, go home." And so he knocked on everybody's door on that floor, and we had to have a meeting immediately. Of course, some of the students denied that they didn't do it, but it didn't get there by itself. And we had a discussion why that was wrong. And they wrote it because I was active as a student at the Black Student Service Center at NYU. And we went through a lot of turmoil, being that we was a part of that organization. We also had the Black Science Group. We had the Caribbean group. We had the Black Women's Organization as well. We didn't join any fraternities because we didn't believe in fraternities. We believed just in helping each other. We would have our tests on file. We would have our research papers on file. So we helped each other because part of the agreement that we had at the Black Student Service Center is to guarantee that every Black student that enters NYU, which was not many, we was less than 1%, that we were to guarantee that every Black student graduate from New York University. Sometimes you start out with a lot of people, but at the end, there's not many people who actually was able to get their degree at NYU for many different reasons. They had to drop out for financial reasons, and sometimes the stress of the workload at New York University was so heavy that some of the students couldn't deal with it and they dropped out. And we had, if you were on a scholarship, you had to have a certain GPA, grade point average, to continue with that scholarship. And a lot of students was not able to continue to have that grade point average. And as a result, they lost their scholarships and they couldn't continue at NYU and they had to go to other colleges. So at NYU, I met a sister at the time. She was going there. Her name was Tayari. She was from the East Organization. And she was going to a program for older adults there, the Gallatin program, as well as Brother Wakili. He was also going to the Gallatin division. And any Black student that came on campus, the president of the university or the admissions department would give us their names. So we would be in touch with each other immediately. And I also met a young man who became my son's godfather, my oldest son. His name was Olayemi Tenuwe, and he was from Nigeria, and he was Yoruba. A lot of the students on campus were from Nigeria, and they were Yoruba, Benin, and some were Senegalese. And so they had different cultures. And I was interested in their different traditional lifestyles and different religions and spirituality. So we all worked together in unison. And we wanted to guarantee that we all get out of NYU. Now, so I started, as a result, I heard about the East in the 70s. That was 1970. I think I heard about it in like 1972 or something from Omar. So we started going, when I got in college in 1976, we started going around the East. Sometimes when we get off the A train or the C train, we didn't know where the East was at. We just said 10 Claver Place, but we didn't know how to get there because we got off at Franklin Avenue. All you had to do is say, the East, where's the East? And people would just say, oh, you go around the corner right there, 10 Claver Place. And boom, we were there. It was most interesting. There I met Brother J. Tuwe Usi. And the students that came from NYU, he recruited us, the Black students, to come into his program. And we would have, again, study groups. And we would go to the plays that they performed. We met Yusef Iman and brother Baraka. And they put on plays. They had the, I believe it was the Black Arts Movement. So we met them. They would drive us, Brother Baraka would drive us back to the train station so we could get to NYU. And sometimes he would even drive us to West 4th Street. They were the most humble brothers. We used to call J2 the biggest giant. And we said he was a walking encyclopedia because he just knew about all different types of subjects. He's deceased now. And as a result, I got to meet his first wife, Sister Mama Amanisha Black, and then his second wife, Angela Black, and all of his children. And we all became friends, and the rest is history. The East was responsible. My ex-husband, his name is Terrence Newton, he worked at the Uhuru Sasa that the East had a school. The East was a Black liberation movement and a cultural movement and a traditional movement. They had different people from all walks of life, Black people from the Caribbean, from Africa, from Brooklyn, from the South Bronx, all the 5 boroughs, okay? Some people were Muslims before. I believe Sister Abimbola, she was in the Nation of Islam before. Brother Yusef Iman, he was in the Nation of Islam before, and he studied directly under the Honorable El Hajj Malik El Shabazz, who is, as we all know, Malcolm X. So it was a stirring pot of different Black cultures. They had the school, Uhuru Sasa. They had the Black News. Also, it was a kitchen. The Abimbola would know more of the names, but there was the kitchen, the bookstore, all Black owned. And I loved it. So we used to go there all the time. Brother D came up with the poem called How We Gonna Make the Black Nation Rise. We used to visit each other's houses. So part of that poem was made at my house, part was made at his house, and we put together different parts and whatnot. I was supposed to be a person in the backup, but my ex-husband didn't want me to be involved because he didn't like rap. He was very much into jazz and traditional music. So I wasn't able to show up at the studio that day with Brother Ilumbe Braff, who was a graphic artist, and he worked on Like It Is. And he was also a member of the African Nationalist Pioneer Movement, which I then later became a part of. And I was the secretary of the African Nationalist Pioneer Movement, one of the secretaries. And then I was also a member of the UNIA, the A.L. Crawford Division in Brooklyn. And we met at a brownstone. The brownstone was owned by Mrs. Golden, and I believe her husband and her sister, Alma Golden, and I forgot her sister's name, but we met all of them. What was so interesting, so Queen, my niece, is that she actually had books on Marcus Garvey. I believe she actually met Marcus Garvey when he was alive. Okay, I met some people who were elders that I invited to NYU. We would have forums, lecture series. We had Gordon Parks. Mm-hmm. We had Queen Mother Moore. Of course, Kwame Ture, who is also Stokely. We know him as Stokely Carmichael. Mm-hmm. We had Dick Gregory. We had a concert with Gil Scott-Heron.
Wow.
And so many different icons in our community.
Gil Scott-Heron.
You know, I always played Gil Scott-Heron. And we used to dance, Ma, Grandma, Lord Jim, all of us, your father, Melvin, Annie, all
with
of
the tambourine.
us. The tambourines. And Lord Jim used to do the Temptation Walk. But we loved that song, In the Bottle. and the
Yes,
revelation will not be
yes,
televised. Okay,
yes. In the
as
Bible, it's definitely my song.
right.
The
As
Rev-
I got older, I used to go to his concerts over at SOBs.
I'm
Um,
sure they were great.
they were great, you know. And he even recognized me. I was able to go downstairs and talk to him. He
Wow.
said the only person that he knew that didn't smoke marijuana or take drugs. So
That's good.
one time he started his concert with like, this is a young lady that I met, and she's the only person that I ever met that don't smoke marijuana, don't drink, and
Wow.
don't take drugs. Okay.
That's
But
good.
I experienced when I was younger, I did get drunk at the age of, I think I was 18.
Mm.
My boyfriend at the time, he was a Muslim brother too. He was studying to be a Muslim, but he used to still get drunk and everything.
Mhm.
So, they wanted to get me drunk, of course. So we had some blueberry brandy or something. I don't know what it was, E and J or something. And
We
while I
had
was
a
down,
comment. We had a
right.
comment from Kibby
Mm-hmm.
saying, what did it say? Where'd it go? About the brownstone.
Oh,
That
with
was
the
on.
UNIA with Mother Golden. It was called the A.L. Crawford Division of the UNIA.
Yeah,
And
she
I
said,
believe,
owned
go ahead.
by Al Crawford and Alma Golden on Vanderbilt Avenue.
Right,
It's now owned
right.
by Agnes Blount children. It's
Agnes
an
Loud,
heiress.
was she a UNIA member as well?
She was Miss Golden's sister.
Oh, that's
Agnes
her
and
sister.
Alma and Agnes.
Mm.
But I thought that the sister passed away, so now the children own it.
It
Yes,
says Agnes children.
Alma left the brownstone to Esther and her nephews, but then one nephew passed away. The niece and two nephews. So now there's a nephew and a niece. That's
Oh,
it. Yeah.
yeah, because I believe I met Abin. No, I met you around the East, but then when we used to have meetings at Miss Golden's house, because we all belong to the A.L. Crawford Division of the UNIA, and your husband at that time, Brother Minsar, he was there as well, Brother Primpe. We was with the group, the young group we called ourselves the Arm and Rod Division. Brother D, Baba D, we call him now. Myself, Sister Katura, Randy Robinson, Damani, Aroni, Melchizedek. I said Katura. Might have been Aida and some other Musa and some other people, but they considered us as revolutionaries and too hard head. Eventually, we called ourselves the Army Rod Division, and we bumped heads a lot with the elders, and we wanted to change the name of the UNIA. It stands for the United Negro Improvement Association. We wanted it to be the United African Improvement Association, but they were not going to change it. We understand that as we went on, and a lot of things went down. They did not like the way we were acting, and we were quite bold at that time. We were youngsters, we were teenagers.
Hmm.
I was 17, 18, 19, and 20 years old.
On
We were
fire.
very young, and we had a lot of fire in us. And we thought that we could just rule the world. And we also, some of our members love to debate. And our elders were more calmer than us, and more disciplined than we were, of
Mm.
course. But we were the workers. We were the ones putting out the flyers. In those days, we had the flyers. We had to
Hmm.
do the mailing lists and contact people and everything so they could come to the programs. We would call people actually on the phone. It was no texting at that time as it is now. You had to call people on the phone. Technology is beautiful, but one thing about organizing in organizations, you have to see each other face to face. You have to meet people. You have to know who they are, because Otherwise a lot of infiltration could take place. Even when we were around, our organizations was infiltrated. Okay. And there were many people that looked like us, but they were actually working for the CIA or the FBI and everything. So being able to see each other, looking each other in eye to eye, committing yourself to working with each other, that counts. When you text people, you don't see their emotions. You don't see their feelings. You don't know how their eyes look. You don't know their facial expressions when you say something. And having a meeting in person with a person in a group, you get to see all of that. Okay. And you get to talk with people one-on-one, and you get to be in a group. Or one thing that our elder, Kwame Ture, aka Stokely Carmichael, used to always say, he said, organization, all right, not mobilization. See, what they do on the internet right now, they mobilize. People get together over many different, like police brutality, for example, right? They get together over that and they mobilize. They send out an email and everybody, they say, meet here at Washington Square Park or Union Square, or we're going to go to DC, just show up, right? You don't know anybody though. You don't know these people. They just show up. So you don't know if they're going to show up and disrupt. You don't know if they're going to have your back when the police arrest you, who's going to get you out, So you have to know these things in advance and plan and organize. See, what's going on right now is mobilization. Big numbers of groups of people getting together, and then they disperse, and then they wait until the next issue comes up, and then they react to that. It's a lot of reactionary behavior that's going on. With George Floyd, I noticed there was this group, Black Lives Matter. Fine, that was groovy. That was good, Black Lives Matter. However, money was collected. People stole the money. There was a lot of conflict with the organizers. Some of the white people wanted to take over. People didn't know who was who. Some people was there from the socialist parties, and they was writing things on the wall. And then the people in the community would get blamed for it. I even seen them burn down a police station. I think it was in, Tonya, was it in Denver or something? Or Seattle? It was
sure, but it probably was out there somewhere.
Right. It was in Seattle.
It was everywhere, yeah.
It was everywhere. And you seen this white man burn down, a few of them burned down a police station. Now,
yeah, they weren't even the rioters. That was a whole nother situation.
Right. That's
because they were leaving bricks in the neighborhoods, pallets of bricks and stuff. Yeah.
How ironic that when you're going to a march, that the bricks are already set up. That don't happen. Because we are not trying to get in. When I used to rally, we're not trying to get in trouble. Exactly. We're not trying to provoke the police. We're trying to have a peaceful march because we understand that they're larger than us and they would just run over us. Now, the new Black Panther Party that I was a member of, those young brothers and sisters was ready to throw down if the police came around on them. Because we were the soldiers of Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad. He didn't take no mess, okay?
Yeah.
And he used to tell us to square up with the police. Pick your partner. So when we would be silent and square up, but we would be eye to eye, toe to toe with them. Okay. But we would be silent and we would wait for him to instruct us. But we were not trying to get in any trouble. We were not trying to go to jail. So it's so ironic now that you see people actually burning down police stations and they don't get arrested. So that means something is wrong. That means that
I don't think that was that crowd. Yeah.
Right. They're working for the police.
Exactly.
So we know how to be disciplined. We know how to be quiet. We know how to get people out of jail if they get in trouble. But we're not provoking the police so that to burn down a police station and you don't get arrested. That's so ironic. And that means those individuals was placed in that rally to disrupt. And they probably are police officers themselves.
Yeah, it got really bad here during the Freddie Gray riots.
Where are you from? Say where you're from, Tonya.
Baltimore is where I'm at right now. So I was here for the Baltimore Freddie Gray riots. I actually worked at the African American Museum
Mm-hmm.
where they ended up bringing the van that he got murdered in for display. It was a quite an experience working there. The entire museum displayed all slavery.
Mm-hmm.
And as if that was African Americans' only plight here, it barely showed our inventions and different things. Like, it really didn't have to be like, it had actual chains on display and art and whatnot. But to me, yeah, it was an interesting experience. But I did get to reunite with Malcolm X's daughter, Ilyasa, when I was there
Right.
after
Mm-hmm.
30 years. But yeah, that was a great that was actually the highlight of the job, because after that I was out of there within like 2 weeks or whatever. I don't know why. I guess they were wondering why how I knew her or whatever, but instead of asking me, you know, but they were
Well,
going
how do
through
you
a
know
transition
can you
anyway.
tell a story about that? How you
Yeah, who
met the
cares?
Shabazz sisters?
Yes, actually, when I was a little girl, we relocated from the Bronx to New Paltz, New York. And at that time, Ilyasa and her sister Gamila were in college at SUNY New Paltz.
Right.
We just happened to live like a building apart from each other. And
Mm-hmm.
so I used to be out there playing and stuff like that, and they would have cookouts and whatnot. And an African brother that we knew named Husainu introduced us to them at the first cookout or whatever. And so they took a liking to our family, and they became family at our house, eating dinner and partying and stuff like that, and getting together. And so we had like a
And you
good
took some of their hair.
like a good 5 year run, you know, really close with them, which was great, really great, because I always looked up to Malcolm X. I mean, I was blown away to know that I even know them.
Right. And I recently, okay, let me tell you a story about when I met Dr. Betty Shabazz. Now, she was a instructor at Medgar Evers College. We were giving a program on Malcolm X. I believe it might have been 78 or 79, 1978 or 1979. And we had Queen Mother Moore was one of the speakers, and we wanted Dr. Betty Shabazz to come. Well, I called her on the phone. I wrote her a letter, but she couldn't make it. And then she returned my call. That call, you know, those land phones, the black old land phones.
Yes.
That's what
Yes.
we had while you in our office. So Dr. Betty Shabazz called me,
Mm.
and we were all, a couple of people was in the office, and we were like, oh my goodness, but I couldn't really say anything but
Right.
listen to her. And I couldn't show all of my excitement, but I was like, oh, thank you for calling, returning my call and whatnot. And she said, I want you to say certain things about Malcolm X and me, you know. And she went on for 2 hours, okay?
Wow.
2 hours. I was just listening to her. She told me her whole life story,
That's
how
great.
she was studying as a nurse, and how she had to raise her 6 children as a single parent, how no one really helping her, of course not from the Nation of Islam.
Exactly.
She was getting help from Percy Sutton and some other politicians. Um, it was difficult for her as a single Black parent. She was talking about nursing, how she taught the nursing program at Medgar Evers, and she was so happy for that job. She was a professor, and she met a lot of youngsters there, a lot of people there, community activists and everything. And she was just very happy to
Yeah.
be there and working so she could provide for her children. But she was an average, everyday mom, you
Yeah.
know?
I could just imagine from her, and that's worth a book, you know?
She said she couldn't come because she had to be home when the children come home. Some of them were already in college and some were not. So she had to be home, and she had to be home to prepare her lessons and everything. And she just went on and on. And I just listened intensely. I was like, yes, ma'am, you know.
Yeah.
And I didn't say a word because I was just so fascinated that she was calling me and talking to me like my mother was talking to me. She said, now listen. I want you to listen very hard what I have to say. And she said, my children didn't get to know their father. That was taken away from them. But she said she keeps him alive in the house through pictures. She said she talks about Malcolm as if he was there. When she says her prayers at the dinner table, she talks about Malcolm X. This is your father. And she says the prayers and everything. She showed them the letters that he wrote to her when he was in Egypt and different parts of Africa. He would always write letters to her. So she would read the letters to her children so that they could get to know their father, you know? So it was really amazing, really, really amazing. And she couldn't come though, but I felt her presence there when we, you know, talk about Malcolm. And we as students, we read every speech. I still read his speeches. Just Friday, when I came to the privilege, I sat and read his speeches, listened to his speeches on YouTube. And some of the brothers and sisters in the Panther Party, they was writing me about different speeches as well. Now, in the new Black Panther Party, I was the first female chairwoman in New York City and in Harlem, New York. And, you know, that was something because I earned it based on the fact that I was a community activist. A lot of them were younger than me, but they taught me a lot and I taught them a lot. And sometimes we had some conflicts, of course, but whenever we went out, we were unified. We were unified. Is there too much sound in the background?
No, I can. You sound fine.
Yeah, so we were unified, definitely. Excuse me, Tammy. Can we turn that down a little? Because I'm on an interview, a live interview on YouTube. So whenever we had any misunderstandings, Dr. Khalid taught us, when we go outside, we must be unified and we have to act as one. And we have to show unity. And we cannot show conflict. And that was very important. That we show that we are acting as one and one in accord with each other.
Yes.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask did you get to know Afina Shakur at all?
Yes, I met her. In fact, when I worked at the Brooklyn Neighborhood Improvement Association, and she was a young mother at that time. You know, she was an adult. Of course, I think she was in her 30s or early 40s. She came to my job. I was a housing assistant, and Brother Adeyemi was my supervisor there. She came for an interview there at the housing organization. It was called the BNIA, Brooklyn Neighborhood Improvement Association. And he's an elder now, but Brother Carlisle McKetty was our executive director. We didn't get paid a lot of money, but we did a lot in the community.
I think it got frozen.
Initiative where people could come a part of that. So all over New York City and all over now in America, every housing courtroom has people there from different housing organizations. Queen. Hello?
Yeah, you were cutting out a little bit.
As I was saying.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. We went back. As I was saying, the Brooklyn Neighborhood Improvement Association, who was run by also Black people, and I used to sit on their board. Carlisle McKetty was our executive director at the time. And Adeyemi was our he was my supervisor. He was the housing specialist, and I was the assistant housing specialist. I came from another organization that was called the Metropolitan Action Institute, where I worked for this lawyer. I was his executive secretary and the office manager. His name was Mr. Paul Davidoff. When I went over to the Brooklyn Neighborhood Improvement Association, we didn't have any medical benefits. And since I started at benefits over at the Metropolitan Action Institute, he was so appreciative. Even though I left and went to another job to BNIA, he continued my Malik at the time. So of course I was so grateful. BNIA at that time didn't have it. And during that time, I became a 7A administrator, where we could take over buildings that were in black rent in arrears, and their landlord basically abandoned the property. And then we as a 7A administrator could take over that building and run that building and make sure that the tenants have heat and hot water and clean up the building and everything. We would manage those buildings. And I also became a HUD housing counselor as well. Since I was pregnant, and we had super rats in the office, and I would always jump on the table or run from them. And I did. Instead of reporting to work, I went to these workshops, one to become a 7A administrator, and then the other one to become a HUD counselor. And then of course, they got the certificates and everything. I didn't even show up for graduation because I didn't want, at that time, the mayor was Mayor Conch, and I didn't want to shake his hand. I was that strong notch. I didn't want to shake his hand because I didn't like the way he did things in the city. And he would always ask the question, how am I doing? And I would say, you're not doing so good. You know, we always made jokes, you're not doing so good. And we have super rats in our office. In that neighborhood that I was in, Bedford-Stuyvesant on Underhill, Washington Avenue, it was a neighborhood that was full of super rats. And now, because of gentrification, everyone wants to move to that neighborhood, and all of Bedford-Stuyvesant, all of Harlem, all of Canarsie, and all of the Black neighborhoods are changing now. That's one thing that we did in New Black Panther Party, as well as the African Nationalist Pioneer Movement. We would have workshops for tenants to tell them their rights and to help them improve their housing conditions. That organization is still around, the African Nationalist Pioneer Movement. Every year they give a parade, and that organization, the African Nationalist Pioneer Movement, was started by Dr. Carlos Cooks. And Alumbe Braff was a member of that organization as well, and Kwame Brathwaite as well. Kwame Brathwaite was a photographer, and his brother was a graphic artist, Alumbe Braff. And they helped build the organization, and then they started this organization called AJAZ. It was a part of the Black arts movement, and it became very famous. If you go online, you could see the work of Kwame Brathwaite. Dr. Carlos Cooks, he had named a group called the Grandessa Models. He called it the Grandessa Models because every Garvey Day, the Grandessa Models were modeled. But he came up with the name, the Grandessa Models, because he called Africa Grandessa, like something so marvelous.
Right.
So he believed, and we believe, that Africa should be governed by the Africans in Africa and abroad in the diaspora. That organization brought many African heads of state to New York. Kwame Nkrumah, the heads of state of Ghana, the heads of states of Namibia. When Nelson Mandela came, that organization and Brother Alumbe Braff was key in getting Nelson Mandela over here and
Mm.
speaking at the Harlem State Office Building, as well as Boys and Girls High School. She too worked with them as well. But most of them had the same ideas and the same, what I would say, potential to have a Black liberation movement here in America.
Right.
And people could go online and find out about these brothers and sisters. Not all of them got their accolades, you know,
I'm sure.
and they were fantastic. And I would just like to say thank you, Madasi, Asante Sana. You did a good job. And personally, they mentored me to be the person that I am today. And I'm very thankful for that. And I always thank their families for allowing them to be out of the house, organizing the community, and helping all of us.
Did you ever get to know anybody that turned out to be actually like a celebrity status at all on your journey?
Yes, of course. First, some of the rappers came out of Uhuru Sasa. Oh, it's a young sister. Her voice is on all of BET and most of the shows. Oh
Would it
my
be
God.
MC Light?
MC Light.
MC Light. She's my favorite.
Yes, MC Light went to Uhuru Sasa.
Mm.
Biggie Smalls went to Sarah J. Hill's high school as well as Lil Kim. And I taught at the time that both of them, I was the counselor. I was a SAPIS worker. I was a counselor at that school at the time. And they both left to go into their music careers at J. Hill High School. Some of the students called it, and the teachers called it Sarah J. Jail High School, you know, because there was a lot of fighting in the school and whatnot. But then Reverend Daughtry, one time there was a riot there and the police attacked our students during the fire drill when they walked out of the school.
Wow.
So I took some of my students to run to Reverend Daughtry's church, which was a couple of blocks away. So that church adopted our school. And we had programs there. We had a teacher there. Her name was Mrs. Ntuli. She was actually a part of the struggle in South Africa. And she said, you know, her and her family, they were very vocal during the uprising, Soweto uprising. And she would get prepared every night, put on her clothes. So when the police come and take her, she was dressed to leave. And her children had instructions on what to do.
Right.
And she taught at our school. So we gave a lot of cultural programs. And we had invited Queen Mother, Black Rose, came to a lot of our programs to do poetry. And I used to dance and do poetry.
I remember.
I'm sure you have some videotapes of me.
Yeah,
dancing.
Dad has videos. I saw them when I was there last.
That's when I could really do some African dance. I could still do some, but you know, I'm older now because of the multiple sclerosis. I don't get to dance as much.
Right.
But I did dance at Mars Church up ME1 Kwanzaa, and I did some African dance to Olatunji songs. And I met Olatunji one time when I was on a radio station. He called in and wanted to talk to me, and we then became friends. When I used to see him sometimes in Harlem, he would stop. Olatunji stopped and talk to me.
Wow.
Ben Johanan, we always invited him to programs.
Dr. Ben.
Service Center, and Dr. John Clark.
Wow.
So Dr. Ben knew me. He had a daughter named Nzingha.
Yeah.
So he used to
wow.
always, when I used to go to Pam Pam, he would be holding court. And he said, come on, Sister Nzingha, sit down so we could hold court together. That's what the elders used to call it.
Right.
And we listened to them. They were holding court. He would talk about Egypt and everything. He used to
Yeah.
wait for me when I moved in Harlem. He would be waiting for me by Harlem Hospital. And
Mm-hmm.
my friend who went to NYU too, she was the captain of the police security at Harlem Hospital. Her name is Cynthia Buxton. And she would say, Dr. Ben was waiting for you. Did you know he was waiting for you? I said, no. I said, okay, tell him I'll be back. I'm going over to Pam Pam. And then I would see him at Pam Pam, or sometime I would double back and I would see him at Harlem Hospital or somewhere in Harlem. He loved to eat. He loved his rice and beans. He loved to even cook. We went to Olatunji's funeral and we were doing security for him. Me and another Panther brother, his name is Brother David X. We call him Dr. Africa now. You probably see some of his posts on my page. But we did security for him. And we all then went to a restaurant after after Olatunji's funeral. And we had lunch together or brunch together. Dr. Smalls was there. Brother Oman was there, many different people. And we just had, I think, some lobster and some other food, delicious food. And we were listening to them while they were holding court and laughing and everything. And Dr. Ben wrote so many books. He had a book with him at Olatunji's funeral. So when he went up to dance, because people wasn't dancing or anything, and part of tradition, African tradition, when there's a funeral or something, there's singing and there's dancing. It's a celebration of life. So he was the first dancer on the floor because he knew Olatunji, that was his brother. And he was sad when we went to pick him up, but he got happy afterwards because he said, you're not supposed to be sad. It's a celebration of life. You're supposed to be happy. Now that person is going to be an ancestor and protect over us. So we said, okay, that makes a lot of sense. Now, one time in the community, this young brother who was studying under Dr. Ben decided that, I don't know what happened to him, but he beat up Dr. Ben one day when he was coming out of Ham Pants because he wanted some money from Dr. Ben. Dr. Ben used to give him money and take care of him and whatnot. So Dr. Ben didn't give him money that day. So he beat Dr. Ben up, knocked him to the ground and everything. Well, we were Panthers. We found out about it. And we asked Dr. Ben, how he's feeling and everything. He had to go to Harlem Hospital and they had to take care of him and everything. And then he went home. But we had to teach this young man a lesson. Okay. And I was the chairwoman. And we worked with Mr. Powell from the African National Pioneer Movement. And the brothers and sisters was very angry that someone would attack our elder, Dr. Ben Jahanan. And anyway, to make a long story short, the brother was taken care of. Okay. We went in the street and we had a description of him and we looked for him. He ran when I noticed that he fits the description. And I told some of the brothers, I think that's him. And when they went over to try to talk to him, he ran. So then we knew it was him. And anyway, they taught him a lesson. He wasn't hurt very badly, but let's just say he got what he deserved for messing with Dr. Ben. And he never messed with Dr. Ben or his family again. So going back to, MC Light came out, Uhuru Sasa. There's a brother, his name is Attica, and he's now a producer.
Mm.
And he produced some, I think he's on, I'm not sure, some of 50 Cent's Power. And he also helped produce a lot of different films. And
Awesome.
there are several youngsters. Oh, one of them has his own show. Brother, he's very popular.
Mm.
I forgot his name, but he has his own show on YouTube. He interviews a lot. Who?
Sun Matter?
No, not Fonetta's. Fonetta's out the new Black Panther Party. This brother was a musician and a rapper as well. Talibi, Brother Talib or something like that.
Qualib.
Yes, that's him. Yeah,
Okay,
he was around the East as well.
cool.
His parents was a part of the East as well.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Al Van became a politician. He started the African Teachers Association, which recruited me later into the African Teachers Association, and that was came out of the Ocean Hill Brownsville takeover sit in. They actually sat in the district office because they wanted community control in the district.
From the police.
Mostly Jews and white people were teaching at that time,
Mm.
teaching students, as it is today.
Yeah.
So they set in, I think it was in 1968 or 1969, they actually set in G2, Al Van, Sonny Carson, and some other brothers and sisters. And they set in and demanded that there has to be a change, that Black people must be included in the curriculum, that Black students have to have some Black teachers around them, and so forth, in the public school system.
Right.
And that was a great thing because as a result, they came up with community boards. And when there was a shortage for teachers in 1984, 1983, G2 had called me and said, sister, you're getting off maternity leave and you're going back to Brooklyn Neighborhood Improvement Association. He's like, Asian. He said, don't you want to teach? He said, they need teachers. And they need teachers. So I said, okay, let me go check it out. So myself, Brother Damani, Sister Katura, we were all a part of the UNIA and we were all around the East. We were not necessarily members of the East, but we were supporters. We brought their books, we brought their foods, everything. So we then went and took the test to become teachers, and we all passed the test, and we became teachers. And at that time, the teacher's salary was only, I believe, at that time, $13,000 and $13,500. But for us, because at that time rent was cheap, we only paid like $250 for rent in Brooklyn at that time.
Wow.
So we could survive off of that salary. And Katura and I and Brother Baba D, we all, and my ex-husband Terrence, we all tried to live off half of our income. You know, when we used to have meetings and stuff, we said we're gonna like save half of our money and live off half our income. And as a result of saving money, I was able to get my own house at age 26, and my ex-husband was 32. You know, so that was something important for us. That was during the crack epidemic, and we was able to, you know, get a house for ourselves and raise our children. Till I think my son was about 16 years old. Me and my ex-husband broke up, but I still maintained the house. And you know, it was a very nice neighborhood. Because always believe in Black economics and owning our own and having our own. My children went to this preschool called Patchwork Learning Center. It was in Flatbush, Brooklyn, before we went to Queens. So they learned how to read and write before they went to kindergarten. And they used to have oratory skills as well, do speeches of famous Black people. And that sister, I forgot her name now, but she came out of the East organization as well. And she started her own school, and my children went there. So that was very important to us. And I believe, I'm not sure, Sister Malika Iman, her son went there as well, previous to my sons going there.
Let me ask you, like moving forward up until like now, 125th Street. So you just now recently coordinated the Malcolm X
No,
pilgrimage?
I didn't coordinate that. Professor Smalls is the coordinator
Okay,
of
I know Professor
of
Small.
that
All right,
pilgrimage,
heard
but
of him.
I did call people to go, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I made the video.
Yes.
I don't even
Oh,
think he
okay.
saw the video as of yet, but this will be the first time that that video is shown on the
Right.
podcast. I'm sure
Right.
Brother Reggie got it to Brother Sarnetta, and they probably showed some
I
videos as
think I
well.
saw him on his show, but I don't know if it was after Malcolm's birthday or not.
Yeah.
But I wanted to give let you wrap it up and give your guests a chance to speak. I have a question for all of you moving out.
Okay, and they could also ask me questions as well.
Yes, yes. Matter of fact, you want to go into questions? I can
Yeah. I
unmute
thought I was going to show some
everybody.
of the footage first from the
Yeah.
Malcolm X.
While
Are you
they're
going to do
getting
that first?
ready, everybody can they can unmute and I will go and load up the movie real quick. Or you could
Okay.
continue to talk.
Okay. So I would like Sister Abimbola Wali to say something. They just wrote a book called The East Sisterhood just wrote a book. She could tell you the name of it. So Sister Abimbola, would you like to comment, please? Unmute, Sister Abimbola. Are you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Yeah,
What's the name of the book?
Voices of the East Sisterhood. Reflections of 1969 to 1986.
Do you have a copy of the book that you could show to people right now, please?
Or you could give the information on how they could get it
Okay.
also.
And also, while she's doing that, there's a movie on Prime, Amazon Prime. It's called The Sun Rises in the East. And people should also watch that. So go ahead, Abimbola.
No, that's it. You were
Tell
just
people how
amazing.
to get the book, please.
Oh, okay. Oh, wait a minute.
Okay. And I would like to say congratulations to Sister Abimbola. Oh, okay.
Okay.
Okay, you're on, Abimbola.
Okay, so to get the book, to purchase the book, you go to.
Go ahead.
We can't hear.
Someone have something playing in the background?
Oh, excuse me, Tammy. Can you turn it a little lower, please? Because I'm on the podcast. Go ahead. Can you?
Yeah, it's
I'll
really
mute
loud.
myself. Go ahead.
To order the book, you have to go to PayPal and type in the East Family 50 at gmail.com.
Right.
PayPal, the East Family 50 at gmail.com. And the book is $35 plus $5 for shipping. For further information, East Sisterhood Book at gmail.com. East Sisterhood Book at gmail.com. And I will respond to everyone. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Abimbola. Would you like to say anything?
Well, you're just awesome. I just really enjoyed your plight, your story. I had no idea that you was involved in all of that. And I respect you. I love you. And stay the course.
Okay, thank you, Abimbola. I love you too. Thank you very much.
We have a video clip of the pilgrimage to
Pilgrimage
Malcolm
to
X's gravesite for this year, and that was on the 18th, the day before his birthday,
no
right?
the 19th, May 19th, his
Oh, it was on
98th
the
birthday.
19th.
May
Okay.
19th, 98th birthday. You gotta pinch it out, everyone. Pinch it out. Pinch it to get a full focus. Those are the brothers. They call themselves the Sun Brothers, or the Brothers from the Sun, and they dress in white. They're touching a red, black, and green flag that was put over the grave of Malcolm X, that was then folded, and the elder Professor Rosalind Jeffries is holding the flag that's folded in a triangle, and then they were told to touch the flag and put their hand to their heart in memory of the ancestor El Hajj Malik El Shabazz, also known as Malcolm X. And I don't know if you can see that Pam Africa is sitting there as well. Several elders. Lori's grandmother, Dr. Jeffries, is sitting down as well. I'm sitting in back of them. That's Professor Small's daughter and his granddaughter holding a Ashante stool. And then they have another ancestor stool that they're carrying around. Both stools are from Ghana in Africa. When Dr. Professor Smalls went there, he brought back those stools. And he is also a part of the Khan community, the Muslim community, the Organization of African Unity as well.
Oh, wait, hold on. I got another one.
Okay.
Let me go.
Thank you. Thank you, Sabret.
Yes, that was great. Let me load up the other.
And I have much more footage that I will be editing and getting to you, and trying to show on YouTube.
Okay. All
They're
right.
very long, and I
Share
have
my
to
screen.
edit.
Okay, got the sound.
Yeah, pinch it out to make it bigger. What you're seeing is the head of Dr. Leonard Jeffries. So a brother is making a speech now. I forgot who his speaker is right
because he's beginning to understand who the real enemies are. And they were a whole lot closer than he thought. You know, normally if you're right up underneath you and you don't see it until a whole later on. But he will be coming on pretty soon. I'm going to take some time to do some research, and what we do is legal research for indigent individuals throughout the nation that's incarcerated. You know what I mean? Because they need our help. They got a new program that they're doing in institutions. They call it medication management. And anytime they have problems out of individuals in the institutions, they try to medicate them and make them seem like they out of their mind. You know what I mean? I done been through it. My ancestors brought me through. You know what I'm saying? And I know it's for a fact. But Mumia will be home sooner than we think. Thank you.
That's Professor Small to emceeing the program, and he coordinated the pilgrimage. And they have been going, I believe, for 53 years up to the gravesite.
Jack Felder always hung out with us. And we didn't get any buses this year.
And those are the Brothers of the Sun. They pick different brothers each year to wear the white.
And so,
Pam Africa with the yellow head wrap. I'm filming as they are talking. That's why you see the phone in my hand.
and he got the city council woman of Harlem to pay for the bus. What happened is last night in the early evening,
That's Brother Nova. He's a community activist as well. His father was Jack Felder, a scientist.
I can't tell you all what I said. I'm visiting New York. Yeah, they found the bus.
Thank God. That was our
to
ancestors.
acknowledge the people who helped find the bus for you to meet. Dr. Feldman's son who worked so hard with Brother Charles, one of the rest
The
of
oldest elder that was sitting in the chair opposite Pam Africa, she's 95 years old.
Wow.
Miss Warren, yes.
cars.
Blessings to her. Okay. Well, that was great, Auntie. You did your thing there.
I'm trying.
You have done great. I mean, just growing up as a little girl, I knew you were doing your dancing and stuff, but I had no idea you was doing all that stuff when I came and you wasn't home. I'd be like, "Where's Aunt Deborah? Oh, she at the school doing something." But yeah, it was great growing up being your niece for sure.
My family was too sick of me in college and stuff. Um, and I used to bring my friends by from Africa for Thanksgiving and stuff. And my mother said, she used to say, "Take that rag off your head. You you have hair on your head. Show your head, your hair."
Yeah.
And then lo and behold, grandma started wearing African clothes. And when she
Uh-huh.
passed away, I gave you one of her outfits, remember?
Yeah, I'm saying I actually
And I gave
inherited
you
one of her outfits.
yeah, and she loved to wear African clothes. But
Yes,
before
me
she would
too.
say, "Take that rag off your head. Why are you wearing those baggy clothes and stuff?"
And then
And
she
then
joined the African church, the African Episcopal Church.
and they all started embracing it and
Hmm.
even invited me to talk and to do African dance. And they
Yeah.
gave me $10. I didn't care. It was the point of just being there to help people study about their traditions and stuff. And I was so happy that the church was embracing the African culture.
Yeah,
And
Grandma definitely embraced it too after a while. She did.
right. And now, guess what? Now that church are bringing so many Africans over here
Wow.
and working with like internationally
Yeah,
with
yeah, yeah.
everything. Yeah. And
That's
they feed
excellent.
people as well,
Yeah.
give housing and everything.
It's good to know
So
they still going.
that's a concept of the African Methodist Episcopal Church. They believe in Black people owning housing, economics, pulling their money to feed the community, to eliminate homelessness. And long time ago, years ago, they were abolitionists where the they said that Harriet Tubman traveled through Harlem too. And some of those churches, they actually have like, how can I describe it? Tunnels under the churches.
Wow.
And some of them, some in Brooklyn as well in Harlem, were passageways for the slaves to come through. And they would hide the slaves down there.
Yes.
Our people.
We
And
have a
remember,
continent.
in Central Park
Mhm.
was Seneca Village. That's
Wow.
where people lived at first. And then they had their own community out there, their
Yeah.
own stores, their own housing, everything. And then it was destroyed, like similar to what happened in Tulsa. Was that Tulsa, Oklahoma? In
Yeah.
Oklahoma, yeah. In different places, like in Ohio as well, in different places.
Right.
Also, so that was in Central Park. To build Central Park, they had to get rid of Seneca Village,
Wow.
Africans owned. And
Yeah.
also in New York, you have the African burial ground. I believe it's on Chambers and Broadway.
Mm.
They found the bones of our people there who were slaves.
I
So
already
the
saw that on
slaves
the
just
TV. Yeah.
come down there first in the
Mm.
Wall Street area.
Right.
And then, they would trade them and buy them and everything.
They said there's actually an Egyptian obelisk in Central Park that
Yes.
came directly from Egypt. I wonder how that arrangement happened.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
It,
there's a lot of history around
yeah.
our ancestors from Africa who were enslaved,
Mm-hmm.
and how they built up this country, everything, the railroad, the ships, everything, White House,
Mm-hmm.
museums, you name it, they built it.
Right.
And now they're trying to eliminate us in the history book, and we cannot
Yeah.
allow.
No, we cannot. I'm actually going to start a petition on my own and send it around for that. But we also have a comment in the chat from your other niece, Aisha Alston, who is viewing on YouTube, and she said, wow, awesome, Auntie. You have done and experienced so much. So, yes.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for joining, Shy. I also say you have some other guests here. You have Nana Bakan.
Yes, if she would like to say something, she would say something briefly, as well as
Yes.
Mama Kabibi. If she wants to say something, she can ask a question as
Yes.
well.
Does anyone have any questions or want to add something before we come to a close? I'm unmuting, trying to unmute here. It's not unmuting.
They could just raise their hand.
This is Mama Kabibi. I don't have any questions, but I am so proud to know you, sister. Mama Nzingha, you have been through and experienced so much in the struggle. And yeah, I'm so really very, very proud to know you, sis.
Asante Sana, sister.
Thank you so much for joining. We have Nana Bakan.
Yeah. Excuse me. Yes, greetings. Good evening, everyone. Yes, well, I want to say congratulations to Mama Nzingha, as we call her, Sister Nzingha.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I've known her for a very, very long time, and she's always been an activist as long as I've known her, from when she was a teenager.
Right.
And you know, growing up in Harlem, we had a lot of iconic history in Harlem, and of course all the transitions that have taken place in Brooklyn.
Yes.
And so congratulations to you, and congratulations to Mama Nzingha.
Thank you very much, Madasi. That's my niece's broadcast.
Yes.
Thank you.
She's my oldest niece. Is that right?
Wow, congratulations.
Yep.
Are you the oldest niece?
Yes, ma'am.
From my oldest brother.
Wow.
Yes.
Alvin Alston.
Yes. So
Thank
Mama
you so much
Nzingha,
for
so
coming.
Mama Nzingha is one of our elder members of our shrine. And so she does as much as she can to make sure that we have our festival and keep up with the protocols and continue to pass on the legacy to the younger generation.
That's great.
So good work. Congratulations.
The date of the festival, Anna? The date of the festival, quickly, before we close out. What is the date of the festival?
Oh, okay. Well, it's on July 2nd, Sunday, July 2nd, at the International African Arts Festival at Commodore Barry Park in Brooklyn. So there will be drumming and the spiritual enlightenment that comes from our deities and through the priests and our community. So everyone's welcome to come out. It'll be in the afternoon. We're finalizing things now, but it will start roughly about 3 or 4 o'clock. But
I would like to plan on coming. I really would like to come. I definitely was saying I have to start getting involved with my auntie too, because I have it in my blood too. Like, I'm activated too. I just got to get some activating going. I'm actually here in Baltimore. And yeah, there's definitely the same amount of activism that needs to be done in this area too. But yeah.
Okay. Well,
don't worry, we have some people up in Baltimore.
Yeah, you come out here too.
I'll let you know about who they are. Okay.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Maryland too.
Okay.
Thank you, Nana Bakan and Mama Olabisi. Not my. Oh, I'm sorry. That was elder. She must be thinking about me. Oh my God.
So
I
we
mean,
have
Mama.
Okomfo Kofi.
Oh, he's here too. Oh, yeah, let him say something as well, please. Is
I'm
African was
asking him to, he can unmute his mic now if he wants to say something. There we go.
Greetings and fellow. Sorry, I'm working right now. Sorry, the
Not a
background.
problem. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Madasi brother.
Dasi Pa, to you, all the elders that put in the work before I got here, including my own family line, come from people that are very active in the community. And so it's a blessing to hear the story, the contributions, and some of the untold stories with the legacy of what we've been able to profit from the sacrifice of those who come before. So I say, Madasi Pa, and thank you to you, all the elders, to you and your ancestors who came before you. And, you know, Olusa continua, the fight continues.
Thank you, brother.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mama Kubibi. Thank you, Mama Abimbola. Thank you, Nana Bakan. Thank you, Akomfo, Kofi. And what we forgot to mention is that I had a magazine out. It was called the Black Star Line. And it's going to come out again this summer. We're gathering the artists and the workers now.
I would like to help. So we'll talk about that on the side. But yeah,
Sure.
definitely
Surely.
want to be involved.
You're going to be a writer in it too.
Thank you. Oh, go ahead. Sorry about that.
Sorry, and also one more thing. The organization's name sponsors the Sons of Africa.
Back to that question about pricing. Increased competition.
Was everybody able to hear me?
Yes, go ahead, brother.
Yes,
We can
the
hear
Sons of Africa. He said it's the correct name
Yes. Yes.
of the Brotherhood.
So that's all I had to say.
Yes, if you could just repeat it right quick because it was breaking up. Yes. Yeah, it's breaking up again. The sound. Uh-oh.
Okay, is this any better?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yes, that's a lot better.
Okay, sorry. The correct name for the organization that sponsors the annual pilgrimage to the site is named Sons of Africa, of which I'm a member.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you. Is that out of New York or are there chapters all over?
It's originated in New York City College under Professor Dr. Leonard Jeffries, Professor Smalls, Dr. John Henry Clark, and Professor Scobie.
Awesome. Awesome.
And so, yes, it's a brothership. It's a brothership that also has a complement called Daughters of Africa.
Oh, awesome. We can get that information
That's
in case anyone is interested. So yes, and also we have your oldest brother in the chat, Auntie. You gotta unmute hit your microphone. There you go. Yeah, so we had your oldest brother came through in the chat, Uncle Melvin. Well, not your uncle, but
that's our father.
Your children's uncle, but yeah, my dad. And he came through. So thank you for coming through, Dad. And he said, very well done. And blessings on your accomplishments.
Infrastructure bill in Washington carved out $5 billion for states with a nationwide.
Is he going to comment?
He's in the chat. I just read his comment. He said, very well done and blessings on your accomplishments.
Madasi, thank you. My oldest brother. He always say he's the oldest brother.
Yes.
He was the first child.
For example, in China,
definitely thank everyone for coming through, and I'd like to do this again. And maybe after the festival, you guys can come and talk about it
Okay.
and give us the information. Although I'm trying to attend, it still would be nice to come back and talk about what we learned.
Definitely.
And hopefully I can get some of the young cousins to come out. And it'd be nice to see everybody.
Yes, instead of on the internet all the time.
Yes, when we need a festival, I actually did get to go to Harlem Week. I made it there that weekend, and I didn't even know it was Harlem Week. And so Jamil came down, and we actually got to go out and enjoy the last day of Harlem Week, and we got to see Wyclef.
Yeah, y'all had a lot of fun.
Yeah, Wyclef was there. He did a little show. And yeah, that was nice. Oh yeah, I enjoyed
Yes,
myself.
that's what we said, that MC Light. Nana, you tuned in a little later, but we did mention that MC Light attended Uhuru Sasa.
No,
Yeah.
it's where you see, it's where you see Shule. It's where you see.
Brother Khalid.
I heard that, but it was where you see Shule.
Oh.
And another brother, Kalebi or something. He has his own show now, but he was a rapper as well.
Yes,
Tonya,
I heard you.
What's his name?
Do you remember his name?
You said Talib Kweli, right?
Yes, that's him. Khalid, that's him.
Yeah, I heard you, but I was just letting you know. That's why I put it in the chat. I didn't want to repeat it, but it's where you see Shule.
Oh, okay. Thank you. As well as many other young artists came out of the East. A lot of them are very productive. You know, some of them went into teaching, some went into social work. They went into all different aspects. Abimbola daughter studied science, and she even was studying to be a mortician as well.
Wow.
Yeah, and Nana Bakan's daughter Fofier, she's a social worker. She came out to Uhuru Sasa. She works with the CAS. You know, the children. What is it called? Somebody help me. You know, it used to be called BTW. Now it's called something else.
No idea.
It's okay. We know what
it's called CAS now.
Yeah, HCS.
So, and her other son is a fireman, Nana Yao. The other son does counseling and stuff. So we had a lot of productive children come out of the East. And of course, a lot of us, G2 and us, we became teachers. He recruited us and we became teachers.
Wow.
And we studied in his study groups as well.
Awesome. That is absolutely awesome.
Even though I was not a member of the East, I used their services. My ex-husband sold the books. And I helped sell the books, of course, for Joe Masariki, who owned the bookstore. And Brother Mze used to cook. And we ordered his food at NYU for our Black Student Service Center. We would order the food because we believe in buying Black. We ordered the books. We ordered the Black news. We went to the concert. We went to the plays and everything.
Yeah. Trying to steer our young people now to do that because they get their money and they go run into the name brand and all this other stuff, but we're trying to get them to participate in the small Black businesses that are out here, you know?
Yes, and they need to start becoming their own designers, design their clothes, because Black youth set the trend for everybody. Okay, if they wear it, everybody in the world is going to wear it. Look at 50 years of hip hop. Oh my goodness, the Chinese are doing the hip hop, the Indians are doing the hip hop, everyone is doing hip hop and singing those songs, and our youngsters have to maintain the hip hop community, and they have to claim it. They have to write about it now, and they have to keep performing it, and they have to keep it as an art that came out of their generation. You know, they have to continue it.
Yeah.
The break dancing, all the break dancing. I used to break dance myself. me and Baba D at my house and his house. My ex-husband used to be sick of us. He said, "Why y'all doing those dances?" We was from the Bronx. We were from the Bronx, so we had to do those dances. You know, just like I know how to speak Spanish very well, and my sister know how to speak Spanish very well, Andrea, your aunt, because we grew up in the South Bronx. So of course we're going to speak Spanish. And of course we're going to have plantains and collard greens, you know, and that's it. So the cultures intermingle, and we can't help but have some plantains and collard greens and rice and beans sometimes.
Exactly. And New York is like that. There's so many different cultures. You can't help but, if you're open-minded, you can't but help but at least try the food. But I love all types of food, so.
Yeah. And your mother and father, when they moved over to the what was it called, Tonya? Those houses over there,
River Park Towers.
Right. They had their own food truck.
Yeah.
Because my brother is a veteran. So when he would go to work for transit, his wife would be selling food during the food truck, breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yep.
Okay.
We
and
had
then
a
the kids
hot
would come
truck.
to the truck and help out as well.
Yep. Those were the days. So we're gonna wrap it up because I got another show at about 10 o'clock.
Okay.
So yes, but it was really great having everyone, and we'll get together again. We'll need a part 2 because I got a feeling you have more to tell.
Of course, you know
we only got up until what, the 80s?
Right. And now it's 2023. And you haven't even heard the rest of the story.
Yeah, well, we have the disclosures happening now. We're moving into the new age.
Right.
We're looking for our star seed brothers and sisters now.
Well, send me the link for 10 o'clock because I'll tune in.
Okay.
Until probably 11, and then I'll go to sleep.
All right, cool. Thank you, everyone. Auntie, I'll definitely send you a copy of the recording. It'll take a little bit to upload, a couple of hours. Thank you, everyone, for attending. And until the next time at the House of Tonya 23, stay well, stay blessed, and stay healthy, everyone. Black power to everyone.
Black power.
Peace.
And thank you, everyone. Madasi.
Yes, thank you, everyone. Signing out.
Right.
Here's actually what a former official